The city of Austin does regulate short-term rentals pretty heavily, and there's 3 types. There's type 1, which is homeowner occupied. There's type 2, which is non-homeowner occupied in a duplex or single family. And then there's a type 3, which is more of like a commercial or multifamily space, so condos or townhouses. Type 2 permits in the city of Austin are pretty much impossible to get at this point. The city actually limits by census tract how many can operate in a given area, and as far as I know, pretty much everything's pretty close to cap. And
there's a moratorium in existence too, right? I mean,
yes. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if the moratorium is still in existence.
Oh, okay.
But basically, because I think they finally figured out how to regulate these different types.
Yeah.
The regulations are essentially a moratorium.
Right,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, but the type 1 is what we're going for, because this is look, you're not gonna, it's your own home, and they're not as regulated on renting a portion out of your home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Though homeowner occupied short-term rental permits are the ones that are still being issued, and in a much easier capacity. There aren't as many things to make sure that you have. Within the homeowner occupied permits, there are 3 different types there. There's the primary, which is, if you live in your home and you're renting out a portion of it or a shared room, or if you're a homeowner and you're like, hey, I'm getting out of town for South by, I'm going to rent out my entire house. That's primary. Mm-hmm. Then you've got your secondary, and that's going to be your fully detached units. And those, you're still on premise when you're not, even though somebody's in the other space. And then the last one is actually just the shared space ones.
Gotcha. So the second one of the first type 1 is your auxiliary dwelling unit.
Correct.
So that's if you've got a separate detached, unit, cottage, whatever you want to call it, ADU, auxiliary dwelling unit. That's a word we hear in Austin all the time. And so when you're doing this for yourself and for clients, which license do you get of the type 1 license?
The primary.
The primary, okay. Right.
If we're talking about like doing the suite conversion.
Gotcha, okay.
The primary and the type 1. The application process is not horribly hard, but there is some documentation that you have to make sure to gather before you submit your permit. And basically, it's just shy of $500 to apply. Part of that is the permit fee itself, and then I think there's $50 of it is like the notification fee. Yeah. Just tacking on all of the fees. But basically it costs about $500, and then the yearly renewal is closer to about $300. And there's a few things that you have to gather. One of which is your insurance. You have to make sure you tell your homeowner's insurance company, hey, this is what I'm doing on my property. You want to make sure that your liability is covered. Mm-hmm. The second thing is you have to get a certificate of occupancy. You can get those through development services down at the city of Austin. If there isn't a CO already issued for your home, you can have a third party STR inspection.
Oh, okay.
And so you either have to do one of those two. And they're just looking for basic safety stuff, right? Yeah. Is there a smoke detector? Is there a fire extinguisher? Yeah. Is there egress so that people can escape in the case of a fire? So it's nothing overly scrutinizing, but it's just to make sure that the space is safe.
So let's talk about taxes here. I think Airbnb last year obviously started collecting hotel taxes for the city, even for people that do not have permits, right?
Actually, they're collecting it for the state.
Oh, for the state, okay.
So in the state of Texas, and this is the last piece of the puzzle, is your proof of paying or being ready to pay those hotel and occupancy taxes. So essentially, in the state of Texas, we have a combined 15% state or hotel and occupancy tax. Okay. 6% goes to the state of Texas. That's what Airbnb actually collects. So that's collected through the app. Whereas the city of Austin, 9% is not collected through the app. So you need to either think about that in your rental rate, knowing that you're going to be paying that out to the city of Austin, or you have to request that fund separately from the guest.
Okay. And when you're talking about putting it on, and I know my answer to this, but I want to see if you're the same one, Airbnb, HomeAway, Where does it go?
If you're doing the guest suite, I say Airbnb all day long. I actually tried putting my guest suite on VRBO, and I wasn't really getting much off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found having to balance a couple different booking calendars, it just wasn't worth what I was bringing in off that site. And I think VRBO is much more like an entire home out on Lake Travis, or it's a little bit more of like the complete like vacation home package versus something like this where it's I get couples coming in for a long weekend that just want a nice place to crash.
Well, I can tell you, I have a whole house. I've got actually a type 2 license on my duplex.
Lucky.
Yeah, I think we were the last ones in the area. But we were managing both calendars at one time, and we get 95% Airbnb, and then finally, like HomeAway is about to kick us off because we get every now and then we get a registration, and like I have to cancel it, and they're like, oh, you're in danger of being suspended. Like we don't even care. We get like 3 a year. Our Airbnb is completely full.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I think Airbnb is winning the fight, and it's sad because HomeAway is like a local Austin company, so we love HomeAway, but people aren't using it. So, is that do you have anything more the final process there?
No, that's really it. And like I said, the renewal is around $300 a year. I think it's a little bit less than that, and you have to renew on a yearly basis. But once you have your permit in place, I mean, it's pretty simple. And as long as you make sure that you put in a complete permit application, you're more than likely going to be approved and not even really hear from the city so much.
Yeah. Well, this has been very informative. Lauren, where can anyone watching this, where can they find you?
So I've got a Facebook page for my real estate business. I'm on Instagram, Lauren Yoder ATX.
Tina's going to put this in here as we go.
Tina's putting it in the comments as we go. You can always find me on spyglassrealty.com on the agent page. I'm up, I think, pretty close to the top. And I'd love to hear any feedback or any questions that somebody has. I'm happy to consult about this sort of stuff if you're just sort of thinking about the possibilities. But I think the sharing economy is something that especially the millennial new home first time buyer wave can really take advantage of and live a financially free life.
Absolutely. And Lauren is one of my top agents here at Spyglass. We really appreciate having you here. Just so you know, we are actually relaunching our site, I believe, today, and it's going to have a whole new fresh look, and I'm very excited about that. So check that out. Next week, we got a very special guest. We're going to be going over the tax implications of the new tax plan, and maybe some tidbits about how real estate agents are affected by the new tax plan. So join us next Thursday at 2 p.m. Check out our website. We have Lauren's information in the chat. There will also be further information. If you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be further information as we get this on YouTube that you can find out more information about how to really get this process started. And we will see you next week. Thanks for joining in.
You've been watching Austin Realty Behind the Scenes with Ryan Rodenbeck. Thank you for joining us.